My uncle looked me dead in the eye, right there in the church sanctuary, and said the words that cut deeper than any ID ever heard: "You don't belong here." This was the same man who'd abandoned me to foster care 13 years ago. The same man who now stood as a deacon in this church pretending I didn't exist. But the pastor heard him. And what Pastor Williams said next didn't just stun my uncle, it shook the entire congregation to its core. My name is Isaiah Carter. I'm 19 years old and 6 months ago. I walked into Grace Community Church for the first time in my life, looking for something ID never had a place to belong. ID spent 13 years bouncing through 9 different foster homes after my mother died and my father went to prison. No family wanted me. Not even my uncle Robert, my mother's brother, who had a good job, a nice house, and this church that he'd attended for 20 years. He chose his reputation over his nephew, and I grew up knowing I'd been thrown away by the one person who should have saved me. I'd been coming to Grace Community for 6 months, sitting in the back, trying to be invisible. I worked nights stocking shelves at a grocery store and went to community college during the day, barely sleeping, barely surviving. But Sunday mornings at this church, those 2 hours felt like the only peace I'd ever known. Until 3 weeks ago, when my uncle finally noticed me. I was standing in the lobby after service, talking to Miss Patricia, an elderly woman who'd been kind to me. She was telling me about the church's mentorship program when I saw him, Deacon Robert Harris, my mother's brother, walking toward us with his perfect wife and 2 perfect kids. Our eyes met. I saw recognition, then panic, then cold dismissal. He walked right past me like I was invisible. Miss Patricia noticed. "Isaiah, honey, do you know Deacon Harris?" "He's my uncle." Her face showed shock, confusion. "Your uncle? But why didn't he—" "It's complicated. That was 3 weeks ago." Since then, it had gotten worse. The next Sunday, I arrived to find my usual seat taken. My uncle's family had moved to the back row by row, spreading out their belongings across the entire section. "Sorry," his wife said, not looking sorry at all. "This section is saved for families. I moved to a different row." The Sunday after that, I was in the church kitchen helping set up for the potluck when my uncle walked in. He stopped when he saw me. "What are you doing here?" "Helping set up. Miss Patricia asked me to. This is for church members. I am a member. I've been attending for 6 months. Attending isn't the same as belonging." He said it quietly, but the edge was sharp. "Look, I don't know what you think you're doing here, but this isn't the place for you. This is a church. It's supposed to be for everyone. Don't lecture me about church. I've been a deacon here for 15 years. I know what this community is about. And you—" He looked me up and down at my thrift store clothes, my worn shoes. "You don't fit." His wife appeared in the doorway. "Robert, Pastor Williams is looking for you." He left without another word, but it didn't end there. Last Sunday, I was volunteering in the children's ministry, helping with crafts, something I'd been doing for a month. I was good with kids. They didn't judge. They didn't care about my past. My uncle found me in the classroom. "We need to talk, outside." In the hallway, he crossed his arms. "You need to stop volunteering with the children." "Why?" "Because I said so. Because I'm a deacon, and I'm telling you it's not appropriate. Pastor Williams approved me. I passed the background check. I don't care. You're making people uncomfortable." "Who?" "You?" His jaw tightened. "You have no idea what it's been like having you show up here. I built a life in this church. A reputation. People respect me. And now you're here, and it's only a matter of time before someone finds out about your situation." "My situation? You mean being your nephew who you abandoned to foster care? I couldn't take you in. I had just gotten married. We weren't ready. You could have visited. You could have called. You could have acknowledged I existed. This isn't about the past. This is about now. You being here is disruptive." This morning, everything came to a head. I arrived early, like always, sat in my new spot in the middle section. Service started. The worship team sang. Pastor Williams began his sermon about loving your neighbor. The irony wasn't lost on me. Halfway through the service, during a quiet moment, my phone buzzed. I'd forgotten to silence it. It was my social worker. I was still in the system for another year until I turned 21. I quickly silenced it, embarrassed. After service, I was walking toward the exit when my uncle intercepted me. "Can I talk to you for a minute?" We stepped into an empty Sunday school room. His wife stood by the door like a guard. "Isaiah, I've tried to be patient, but this has to stop. You showing up here, disrupting services with your phone, volunteering with children when you have your background." My background, I was the child who needed help. I was 6 years old. That's not what I meant. Then what did you mean? He took a breath. Look, I'm going to be direct. This church is my family's home. We've built relationships here. We're respected here. And having you here, with your situation, your history, the way you look, the way I look, you know what I mean. You look like you're struggling, like you're barely surviving. And that's fine for you, but it reflects on me. People are starting to ask questions about who you are, why you're here, and you're embarrassed. I'm being realistic. You have options. There are other churches. Churches that might be more suited to your circumstances. The door to the room was open. I didn't realize people were gathering in the hallway, heading to the fellowship hall. So you want me to leave? I think it would be better for everyone. That's when I heard the voice behind us. Robert, what's going on here? We both turned. Pastor Williams stood in the doorway. He was 60-something, black, with kind eyes that had seen a lot. Behind him, a small crowd had gathered. Miss Patricia, some of the other deacons, youth leaders, families heading to lunch. My uncle's face went pale. Pastor, this is a private conversation. It didn't sound private. Your door is open and I heard most of it. Pastor Williams stepped into the room. Did you just tell this young man he doesn't belong in our church? I didn't say that exactly. I heard you say he should find another church. One more suited to his circumstances. What circumstances would those be, Robert? The crowd in the hallway was growing. People were listening now. Pastor, if we could discuss this privately. No, I think this needs to be addressed right here. Right now. Pastor Williams looked at me. Son, what's your name? Isaiah Carter. Isaiah, how long have you been attending Grace Community? 6 months, sir. And have you been involved in any ministries? I volunteer with the children's program. And I help Miss Patricia with the food bank on Saturdays. Pastor Williams turned back to my uncle. So let me understand this. Isaiah has been attending faithfully, volunteering his time serving this congregation. And you're telling him he doesn't belong here because of his circumstances. What circumstances, Robert? My uncle looked trapped. Pastor, this is complicated. Then uncomplicated for me. The silence stretched. Finally I spoke. I'm his nephew. My mother was his sister. She died when I was 6. He refused to take me in, so I went into foster care. I've been in 9 different homes over 13 years. He doesn't want people to know we're related. You could hear gasps from the hallway. Pastor Williams's face changed. Robert, is this true? Pastor, you don't understand the situation. I was newly married. We weren't equipped. I'm not asking about 13 years ago. I'm asking about now. Did you tell your nephew, this young man who has been faithfully attending our church, that he doesn't belong here because you reashamed of the connection? My uncle's wife tried to defend him. Pastor Williams, you don't know the whole story. Then tell me. Pastor Williams's voice was steel now. Tell me what story justifies telling a 19-year-old kid who's survived the foster care system, who's working and going to school and trying to build a life, that he should leave this church because he's an embarrassment to you. No one spoke. Pastor Williams turned to address the growing crowd. I want everyone here to listen. This is Isaiah Carter. For 6 months, he's been attending our church. Sitting quietly in the back, never asking for anything, never causing problems. He works night shifts at Kroger, attends community college during the day, and still finds time to volunteer with our kids and help with our food bank. He paused, letting that sink in. I know Isaiah's story because he told me 3 months ago. He came to my office, wanted to make sure it was okay for him to keep volunteering with children given his background in the foster care system. We did the background check, completely clean. This young man has overcome more in 19 years than most of us will face in a lifetime. Pastor Williams looked at my uncle. And Robert, you knew he was here. You knew he was your nephew. And instead of embracing him, instead of showing him the love and support you should have shown him 13 years ago, you tried to drive him away because you were worried about your reputation. Pastor, I have served this church faithfully for 15 years, and Isaiah has served this church faithfully for 6 months. With no title, no recognition, no family support. Just a desire to be part of a community. Pastor Williams's voice rose. This church was founded on the principle that everyone is welcome at God's table. Not just the people who look successful. Not just the people with clean pasts. Everyone. He turned to me. Isaiah, I owe you an apology. You should never have been made to feel like you don't belong here. This is your church as much as anyone's. Then he addressed the congregation. I'm going to be very clear about something. Grace Community Church welcomes everyone. The struggling single mom, the man fighting addiction, the teenager aging out of foster care, the family that can't afford new clothes. If you're here, if you're seeking, if you're trying, you belong. He looked directly at my uncle. And if anyone deacon member or visitor tries to make another person feel unwanted because they're not polished enough, because they have a complicated past, because they don't fit someone's image of respectability, that person needs to examine whether they understand what this church is supposed to be. The hallway was packed now. 50 people, maybe more, all watching. Robert, I need you to understand something. Isaiah staying or leaving is not up for discussion. He's a valued member of this congregation. What is up for discussion is whether you can be part of a community that embraces people you've rejected. My uncle's face was red. His wife was crying. Their kids looked confused and scared. I think you need to take some time, Pastor Williams continued. Think about what it means to be a deacon. To lead by example. To embody the love we preach about. My uncle opened his mouth, then closed it. He walked out, his family following. The crowd parted silently to let them through. Pastor Williams put his hand on my shoulder. Isaiah, I'm sorry you had to experience that, but I want you to know you are wanted here. You are valued here. And you absolutely belong here. Miss Patricia pushed through the crowd and hugged me. Then others came. Youth leaders, families, people I'd smiled at but never really talked to. We didn't know, one woman said. We didn't know you were struggling like that. We should have reached out more. I've been watching you with the kids, a children's ministry leader said. You're amazing with them. Please don't stop volunteering, an older deacon approached. Son, I lost my nephew to the streets because I didn't step up when he needed me. Biggest regret of my life. What your uncle did leaving you in that system that wasn't right, but you're here now. And we're going to make sure you have what you need. That afternoon, 5 families from the church reached out offering to help. One offered rides to school. Another offered to connect me with scholarship programs. Miss Patricia invited me to Sunday dinner, every week, baby. Your family now. My uncle didn't come back to church for 3 weeks. When he finally did, he sat in the front row far from me. His wife looked straight ahead. Their kids seemed smaller somehow. But I stayed in my seat in the middle section. Because Pastor Williams was right, I belonged there. My name is Isaiah Carter. I'm 19 years old. At church service, my uncle told me I didn't belong there, that my presence, my past, my struggle was an embarrassment to him. But the pastor heard him. And Pastor Williams did something my uncle never did. He stood up for me. He reminded a congregation full of polished, comfortable people that church isn't supposed to be a club for the respectable. It's supposed to be a refuge for the broken. I don't know if my uncle and I will ever reconcile. Honestly, I've stopped waiting for that. But I learned something more important. Family isn't just about blood. It's about who shows up. Who stands with you. Who makes space for you at the table when others try to push you away. And for the first time in my life, I have that. I belong.